Thanks for tuning in to Red Belt Radio. The following episode is scheduled for one fall. I'm Jason, and this show is dedicated to World Wonder Ring Stardom. Today I'm covering the curious case of Starlight Kid, who was one of the very first wrestlers in Stardom to capture my attention and remains one of my absolute favorites. I'm going to ask a few questions because I'm not convinced that Stardom has done her much of a service this year, at least not in recent months. It is truly a shame that Kid was sidelined with an injury at the end of September, couldn't complete the 5-star GP, and as of this transmission remains out of action. But was there something that was more of a shame about the circumstances of her absence? Could the extent of her injury have been mitigated through better decision-making? And also, why has her booking been so depressing? Let's start digging. Ring the bell. If you find these transmissions valuable, please give this a like, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment to let me know what you think. The second half of the year 2023, pretty much anything that followed Stardom Sunshine and the Perfect 10 Queen's Quest vs. Oedo Tai loser leaves unit cage match has mostly been one heartbreaking loss after another for Starlight Kid. Purely speculation, but let's look at this. At best, Stardom had intended to cultivate her character arc by placing her first at a very low point so that they might build her back up in 2024. At worst, Stardom had lost faith or interest in Starlight Kid as a potential headlining act. Somewhere in the middle, Stardom simply was unsure about what in the world to do with SLK. What do you think is the most likely circumstance? July of 2023 placed Starlight Kid in a passion match with the super veteran and these days rarely ever beaten Nanae Takahashi. This was a match that actually made the villainous Kid feel like a babyface, thanks in no part to the fact that Kid had been receiving training from another super veteran, Momoe Nakanishi. The story seemed to be taking shape. Starlight Kid, through learning from and battling the legends of the past, would find a way to become even stronger. In this hypothetical story, Starlight Kid would be the hero. Even Kid's promo and mic performance after losing the match was stripped of her usual taunting, moody, malicious tone of voice. She showed more humanity, more relatability. The seeds were planted for a match involving Momoe herself, and it seemed like SLK might be set for a level up. And then the 5-star GP began later that month, and the 5-star GP continued. And as it turns out, Starlight Kid has the worst tournament of the entire GP roster, Saya Kamitani excluded. SLK's only wins came via a bye against the aforementioned Kamitani and a single legitimate victory over her team leader Natsuko Tora. That's it. One legitimate victory all tournament. And this is a tournament where almost every team leader was overtaken by one of their subordinates, so the Tora win is nothing too special. And Kid's losses? They're, for the most part, pretty darn clean. No controversy. No cheating. Just SLK taking lots of beatings. On the bright side, Starlight Kid makes the main event of Midsummer Fest in mid-August and does get that match with Momoe Nakanishi. It's a 6-person match with Oedo Tai involved. So the match can go a lot of ways, including DQ or some other shenanigans. But no, Starlight Kid gets whooped by a bunch of elder stateswomen and is pinned to the mat by Nanae Takahashi all over again. We just saw this. The passion match didn't mean anything, I guess. The injection didn't take. The passion didn't passion. nothing changed. The hypothetical story I talked about didn't actually exist. But Starlight Kid is still one half of the first ever New Blood Tag Team Champions. Even though she isn't placed on the New Blood 10 card, and yet she does also get one lovely moment of triumph in the main event of the Dream Tag Festival, which I covered in Red Belt Radio's 7th transmission. SLK didn't get that pin herself, but no big deal. But also, she's across the ring from Mayu Iwatani. And these two have serious history. And they're also set to face each other for the 3rd year in a row on the final of the 5-star. But not much is happening between them. They're not really building that match up, certainly not in the battle at the Dream Tag Festival. And SLK has a good guy mask on, and she's kind of playing a babyface next to Azumi. But none of this seems to affect Mayu that much. This might seem like random nitpicking, but I have a very strong vision in my head of how the SLK versus Mayu 5-star match could have gone, and I think it would have made for a super unique match and really powerful story. Maybe I'll go into that at some point in the future. Anyway, there's also another issue. Starlight Kid got hurt in this match. She completed the match and probably didn't think much of it at first, but it became pretty clear after the Dream Tag Festival that SLK was compromised. And yet, she keeps wrestling in September. She's beyond eliminated from the 5-star, but they send her out there to wrestle Shuri, of all people, and lose. They send her out in tag matches, knowing that she not only has a New Blood tag title defense coming, but also that climactic showdown with Mayu the very next night. So what do? They place her in New Blood 11, a match with 6 competitors, a match in which she is limping and has tape wrapped around the outside of her boot. And instead of having the other 5 girls take on the majority of the workload, they have the already injured Starlight Kid spending more time in the ring than I think any other competitor. The night before she's going to face Mayu, in what could be one of the most important matches her character has ever had, she is spending more minutes in the ring than any other person in a match that had 6 people. Oh, and also, just for good measure, she's the person that loses the match. It's a 3-way tag match, which presents the perfect opportunity for the champions to lose their belts without literally being the people to lose. But whatever, let's add another L to the collection instead. At this point, Starlight Kid's match record is looking very Waka-ish. It's looking very Lady C-ish. Certainly no offense to those awesome people, but that simply isn't the level that Starlight Kid is at. Except it kind of feels like it is now. But it also doesn't matter because, to no one's surprise, having her wrestle that much while injured is enough to put an end to this whole story. It could be the case that SLK was intended to witness a meteoric victory over Mayu in the final night of the GP, making the whole path of suffering and terrible showing after terrible showing worth it in the end. But I don't think we'll ever know. It's slightly telling that Starlight Kid voiced her opinion on Stardom's grueling schedule in an article with Tokyo Sports. I'm including a link to that article below in the description, but here is a translated, paraphrased quote from Kid herself. I think we need to review various aspects of next year's 5-star. Not only the title matches during the league, but also an environment where we can concentrate. If we don't want to diminish the brand value of 5-star, I hope that every wrestler can complete it without any injuries. Sadly, Starlight Kid has joined a very long list of injured wrestlers in Stardom. I hope they will do right by her, not just by allowing adequate rest and diligent treatment, but also by allowing her character to progress one day, as a villain or as a hero, towards something more meaningful. If you found this transmission valuable, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment to let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to Red Belt Radio.